Hey everybody, I'm PJ DeCesar, and this is my speedrun of Bionic Commando Elite Forces for the Game Boy Color. This is the speedrun with the girl, any percent speedrun, in 3312. So this was recorded 3 years ago to the day. This is from May 1st, 2017. And I was so mad at this run, at this PB/world record, that I deleted the VOD from Twitch. And I never planned to upload this video. This is obviously the local recording, recorded with Game Boy Player. But I never planned to upload this. I just planned to improve it later and then, save the VOD and encode that and whatnot. But 3 years later, I still have no motivation to play this game. It's by far the worst Bionic Commando game to play casually, and it honestly is probably the worst one to speedrun too. So I just decided that it wasn't fair for this video to not be public for prospective runners and for tassers. So I'm uploading this video as is, with all of its mistakes, and I'm gonna talk through some of the strategies and what's going on in this game. So the first stage that we beat there is obviously Area 1. We were rewarded with the energy recovery pills, and we promptly equipped those. So, much like all of the other Bionic Commando games, you can equip 4 pieces of equipment: a weapon, an accessory, a piece of armor, and a decoder. The decoder is what you need in the previous room, the communication room, and you have to visit the communication room in all but 2 stages in this game to open up the door at the end. So you need the proper communicator for those. And then the accessories are all kinds of different, really good things in this game. The energy recovery pills let you fully refill your health 1 time per stage or per life, whichever is more frequent. So this game has a bunch of really cool techniques and really cool tricks, but it is miserable to run. So this is the only Bionic Commando game of the 7 in the series in which running is faster than swinging. So the game punishes you, if you want to go quickly, that is, for using the core mechanic. You want to swing as... you want to spend as little time as possible swinging. You want to stay in the ground as much as possible. This is a boss, real quick, a recurring boss. I think you have to fight him 4 times. It's just, it's basically the core boss from Bionic Commando NES. You just shoot it a whole bunch. You can shoot the gun at the bottom, or you can shoot the core. There is a manipulation there. I killed the 2 enemies and then stayed in a certain spot and damage boosted backwards to kill the last soldier, and just minimize the time that I have to spend dodging and turning around. So one of the first things that people notice when they see this game is that the animations are really fluid, and it's really cool. It's a great effect, but it makes it pretty awkward to play this game. Swinging, like I said before, is really slow. Pulling yourself onto a ledge is really slow, and walking and stopping are also a pretty big problem. So just movement in general in this game is pretty rough and pretty inconsistent. But the biggest issue for speedrunning is the camera, I would say. So like most other... oh, hold on. This boss is really neat. He's invincible unless he's doing that up attack. So this is a manipulation that I found to... he's completely deterministic. If you do the same things, he will do the same things. To make sure that you get 2 really good openings to damage him without taking too much damage yourself. Our health is in the bottom right there. We only have 3 right now, and you gain more health when you collect cartridges from killing enemies, and from using the energy recovery pills. So health is at a premium for these early stages. We will be getting a health expansion in this stage, I think. The health expansions don't really matter too much, or rather the timing of the health expansions doesn't really matter too much. There is one that I want to get in Area 7. I want to get that in a specific spot because I'm going to need health there. Our health expansion was right after that enemy at the top. But like I was saying before, the biggest enemy in this game is the camera. And like many other GBC and Game Boy games, there's not a whole lot that they can fit on screen. And that's a particularly big problem in a game like this, where your grapple covers like half the screen diagonal or half the screen width, because it means that they oftentimes will put obstacles, or not obstacles, they'll put ceilings and swingable tiles just like in the very corner of a screen, and they don't give you any time to react to them. So from a casual perspective, it's really rough because almost half of the stages will have blind grapples. And from a speedrunning perspective, we have a different problem, and that is many of so there are some sequence breaks where like a ledge can be grabbed from just off camera, or rather, if you can push the camera up just a little bit, you can grapple a platform sooner than they expect you to. But getting the camera to be in the right spot is a pretty big problem in this game. You can force it upwards by whiffing a grapple, and you'll see that in some of the other later stages. It's another elevator skip right there. But yeah, keeping the camera in a certain spot to despawn enemies is important, and trying to force the camera up to get certain platforms to spawn earlier is also a pretty critical part of this game. Alright, so in Area 2, that was the second stage we played. I know I've just been talking about mechanics so far. These stages are kind of unremarkable, so I wanted to cover these while I had a chance. In Area 2, we got the key card, which is required in this stage. And in Area 3, we got the helmet. Helmet is the first of our armor pieces. All of the armor will protect you from a certain number of hits from any source. It can be terrain, like it can be a spike or flames. It can be an enemy. It can be a bullet. And the helmet protects you from one of those hits. And then Area 4, we collected the green decoder, which is needed to access the communicator rooms in this stage and the next two. And in the previous stage, we got the fast charge device, which is useless. Well, it has a function, but it's not a good one. So Area 6 is a unique stage for the girl. There are two playable characters, a girl and a guy. I don't think they have a canon name, so I've just been referring to them as such. The girl's Area 6 is much longer and horrible. These grapples they don't give you much heads up. Again, it ties into the camera issue. You have to know where you're going to grapple before it actually shows up on screen for a lot of these, especially in the first screen, not exactly in this one. And it's miserable. It's horrible in the speedrun. I lose runs here all the time. It's one of the main reasons I don't want to come back to this game. Okay. This boss is unremarkable. In the previous stage, we fought a boss. He's probably my favorite character in this game. When you're gathering intel in the communicator rooms, you can hear what the enemies are saying. You can hack into their communications, intercept messages, and he says he's faster than 10 fast men. So, to fight him, you have to poke him with the claw to make him vulnerable and stop him from running. Otherwise, he just runs all over the place. Okay, this is Area 7. This is one of the worst stages in the game for speed. There's going to be a lot of camera manipulation here to try and force some of these grapple points on camera. So instead of just going back and forth, left and right between all of those, you can do like left, right, right, left, left, depending on camera. And there's some manipulation in this section too, to try and keep the camera in a certain spot to despawn enemies, or get enemies to spawn at heights that are convenient. Damage boosting in this game is super good. As you can see right here, you recover really quickly. You regain control from a damage boost really quickly. And you get a pretty substantial amount of height. And in Bionic Commando games, you can't jump, so being able to get free height without having to grab a ceiling is really useful. Okay, this is the anti-aircraft cannon boss, I think. There are 12 of these targets divided into 3 clusters of 4, and when they fire, like that, the screen shakes, and if you're grappling onto something, you immediately fall, and it's bad. So I've I've developed this approach that will clear some of these out pretty efficiently and then wait in certain spots, like right here, for the gun to fire. And that will guarantee that I get certain spawns from these jetpack dudes, so that I know that they're either going to be out of my way, or that they're going to spawn in places that are convenient. Like that guy, I manipulated to spawn in such a way that during that anti-aircraft shot, he bumps into me and pushes me off to the left while I don't have control, but I regained control in the middle of the air, and I'm able to grapple. Okay, so from Area 7 we get the steel boots. I don't actually remember in this... Looks like my notes are saying I use energy pills here. Steel boots are pretty viable in this stage for that enemy, for example. The steel boots take up the same accessory slot as energy recovery pills and the rapid fire device and the quick charge device and something else that I don't remember. And the steel boots are actually useful in this game. It's one of two games where the steel boots actually do something. Another damage boost there to get enough height to do a diagonal swing instead of killing him and grappling vertically. But the steel boots essentially give you invincibility when you're swinging, except for projectiles and terrain. So you can swing straight through enemies and kill them. It does damage every some amount of time, some interval of time to enemies. It's basically an instant kill to any enemy that you swing through. And it's super handy. I'll be using it for most of the rest of the game. There's some camera shenanigans here too to make sure that I can grab that blue pipe, which is ordinarily not possible. I'm bonking into the wall on those swings just to cancel the swing earlier. Again, the animations are really fluid, but it makes things kind of clunky. Like dropping through platforms is slow. Canceling a swing is slow. Like, in most other Bionic Commando games, if you're swinging and you press down, the swing will stop, the tether will break, and you'll fall straight down. But in this game, because it has to play this animation, it's like you swing and you stop and you lose all your momentum, and then you have to accelerate downwards, and then you land and there's a landing animation. And pulling yourself onto a ledge is slow, and it's just, everything is really slow. So swinging into a wall to cancel a swing is actually faster in some cases. That menu is something I did not intend to do. That's the save screen. Alright, so we're going to be using steel boots in this stage. This is Area 9, and this is the other unique stage for the girl. Areas 6 and 9, both characters have to play, but the stages themselves are unique. So we have the steel boots now. We also equip the vest. The vest is the tier 2 armor. It lets you take 2 hits from any source instead of just 1. So that's pretty nice. There's really no benefit in unequipping any of the armor. We're just going to be constantly using the best one that we can in every stage. I think this is, let's see, Area 9. I don't think this is the one with the extra shenanigans camera stuff. I'm trying to remember what this stage was. Yeah, so some of these, a lot of those swings, this game, starting like in this stage and continuing through the end of the game, they'll just give you one really big swing, another damage boost to grab the ceiling there and save a bit of time. They'll give you one really big swing off a ledge, and then they'll just put these isolated one-tile things that you have to grapple or else you die. And it's very difficult to react to them. You have to know exactly what's coming up. And many of these stages look basically identical. They'll use the same tile set. Like a group of 4 stages will use the same tile set. Oh, unfortunate. Alright, so I have the steel boots equipped because then I don't have to kill those red guys. I can just grab these lamps and then swing, and the swing will kill them. But since they spawn based on camera, you're kind of on a timer once you reach a certain height, and I wasn't fast enough. So the red guy was able to move too far to the left, and I wasn't able to grab the lamp because he was in the way. It's a bit of a shame. Most of the bosses in this are just damage races. Again, because your movement is so slow and your movement options are limited, it's not worth trying to dodge. It's better to just hold your ground against a wall or something and just shoot him over and over again. Alright, this is area 11. From area 9 we get the blue decoder, which is required for areas 10, 11, and 12. I think you can do these in any order, and I don't remember why I do them in this order. I'm not gonna lie to you here. I've tried my best to... Oh, I actually got that swing, nice. I tried my best to remember my decision-making process and remember a lot of the routes and a lot of the stages in this game, but again, I haven't run this game in 3 years, so some of this is still a little bit hazy to me. But I do remember this stage because this is where we want to get our next health expansion, and it also has this really awkward ceiling clip. So this game has a handful of elevator clips. It has like 4 or 5 different methods for clipping through ceilings. And this one is the most impactful, I think. So I couldn't pull myself through the ceiling there because I was apparently underneath the barrel still. So what I'm going to try and do is this elaborate series of grapples to try and get my character to grab a barrel that is on the floor above me. So we're gonna overshoot and grab it on the retraction, and then drop off and grab the corner of the barrel. And if you're at the exact right height, that diagonal swing that I did to the left is going to land you on the platform. But I was 1 pixel too low for that to work. It's pretty unfortunate. And ideally, you'll despawn that enemy, because if he's there, sometimes he can interrupt you. Sometimes instead of grabbing the barrel, your claw will poke him and then retract. And sometimes if you do get the proper height, you'll get damage boosted and you won't land. But in this case, he didn't despawn and I also didn't get the clip. But it wasn't the result of him being there, it's just unfortunate. At some point, I want to... well, I'll continue this thought in a bit. This boss is pretty interesting because I have no idea how you're intended to actually dodge his bullets. But what I found out is that if you scroll him, like you trigger the fight and then you scroll him off screen, he won't actually use his primary bullets. So I think what he does is hover to try and line up with you and constantly fires bullets. And then in set intervals, he'll fire these missiles. So you can just completely avoid the bullets by standing off screen, but you can still damage him. It's pretty interesting. This is area 12. I think this is the stage in which I die in this PB. This PB is not deathless, as you've probably gathered, and this is one of the reasons why I'm mad at it. No, this is area 10. Yeah, this is area 10. We have this stage to do, and then 12. Again, these all look identical to me. Area 10 is, it has some of the most miserable camera work, camera manipulations. It's also one of the stages where you don't actually have to use the communicator room, you can just enter and exit. That's also true for Area 7, the anti-aircraft cannon stage, and in Area 4, I think, where you talk to the other character, you talk to the guy if you're the girl, you talk to the girl if you're the guy. So this is just a really vertical climb, but it's really tedious. So you can cut out, that's the power of steel boots there. You can cut out some of the swings on these lamps in particular based on the camera. I think I grabbed the left one, and then I whiff one grapple to force the camera upwards so that that ledge is possible to grab. And sometimes the game will allow you to do that, and sometimes it still won't push the camera high enough. The camera manipulations are really rough in this game. And then we have this boss. This is the laser elevator boss. These things will shoot at your head height. It was way early on that grab. So to avoid the damage, you just you stand, and then when they pause to shoot you, you crouch. So I missed one cycle on that left elevator against the wall, but I don't actually think that it costs time to miss that one, because I think you have to wait on a cycle later in this last ascent. but I don't remember for sure. Okay, this is Area 12, and this is where I die. This grapple right here. Yeah. Yeah. It's a very unforgiving game. Very, very unforgiving casually, and quite unforgiving in a speedrun. This game doesn't have continues. It has a save file instead, and the only way to earn extra lives is by killing the trucks. Well, killing the trucks in the truck encounters. So it's pretty easy to like run yourself down to a single life and then save your game and just be stuck. Then you just have like one try at each stage. Or you don't save your game because you didn't pay attention and assumed there would be a continue, and then you're just stuck. But besides that, Area 12 isn't too bad. My path here is wrong. I want to do a vertical grapple there, where I did a diagonal grapple and whiffed. You want to do a vertical grapple and grab that ceiling part. And then you can drop off and do a diagonal grapple and skip, wrapping around to the bottom right like I did there. I don't remember if I mentioned it or not, but in these communicator rooms, all I'm doing is choosing to communicate and immediately canceling the message and leaving. You don't have to read it or interact with it in any way. You never have to use the wiretapping option. Every single room is communicate in this game, as opposed to the Game Boy Bionic Commando. There's another option in there that lets you change equipment. You can swap your weapon and swap your decoder, which is really nice in case you you entered a stage and forgot to select the proper decoder. You don't have to play through the whole thing again. You can just swap it in the room. This screen's pretty annoying because if you miss a cycle on one of these platforms, you're just kind of screwed. But it's not too bad. This boss is the prime example of camera manipulation. So this entire approach is choreographed carefully so that once I get up here, the only enemies that will spawn are off-screen to the right and far below screen. You'll see someone, there you go, he's poking his head out. He'll be like in the middle of the screen at the bottom. There he was again. No enemies will actually get in your way, and this whole boss is just shooting a door, and it looks super silly right here because I'm not being threatened in any way. But normally, I think the game can spawn 3 jetpack dudes, and they just get in your way. Sometimes they're not possible to shoot. They'll just be at like ground level, and they'll just push you around. They'll push you off the platform, and then you can't grapple back on because you can't grapple through an enemy. So it's awful. So our reward for that is we get a different tile set, which is a nice change of pace. Another camera manipulation there. Again, I whiff an up grapple to push the camera up, and then do another up grapple to actually connect. So in the previous stage we got yellow decoder, which is used for the rest of these stages, 13, 14, 15. And we have a new enemy type here, these on fire dudes. They have a tremendous amount of health, and after you kill them, they sometimes don't die. So I think they have like 6 health, and after you deplete that, they immolate. And sometimes after that, they take a few extra shots, and sometimes even after that, they don't go away. So I'm using the steel boots just to swing through them. I'm not using them for damage, I'm using it for the invincibility property. Those are some pretty awful grapples. And I'm taking advantage in this screen of a bit of an equipment glitch. So I have equipped the vest, which will soak 2 hits worth of damage. But I use those 2 hits of damage. But if you go into the equipment screen and just make any change or don't make any change, the game resets the durability. So my vest, once again, has 2 durability. It's pretty nice. I'm not too, well, I am concerned about my health, but I'm also concerned about the knockback. The vest prevents knockback, and it's pretty important against the turret enemies at the beginning of this screen. I'm using the wide gun again. The weapons in this game are pretty bad in general. The particle gun is like the second best weapon in the game. That's your starting gun. But the wide gun is really good against this boss. This series of grapples is just cruel. So bad. Alright, so this is the Executioner, I guess. He charges at you with an axe, and when he gets close, he'll stop and he'll try and swing, and he misses and his axe gets stuck, and that's when you can damage him. He has a ton of health. I don't remember the values, but he has a lot. And guns don't do a lot of damage. So particle gun does 1 damage, and wide gun also does 1 damage per bullet. When you charge, your guns do double damage. So instead of being able to get like 4 or 5 damage per cycle, we're able to get 12? 6 plus 3 plus 3. So you can kill him in just a few cycles if you get every hit, but the Executioner's hitbox and hurtbox are offset from his sprite by a lot, like 8 pixels or something. So it's tough to actually line up with him properly to get all 3 hits of the wide gun, especially with the inertia that this game has. Equipping steel boots again, just to swing through these guys. There's supposed to be a fire guy there, and I think there's supposed to be another one. Yeah, there's supposed to be another one there, I think. This, for some reason, I despawned a whole bunch of enemies. I'm not exactly sure why. Let me think. Area 14. Oh, this is the stage with the other ceiling clip, I think. And the elevator, yeah, the elevator skip. So the first way to skip elevators, every Bionic Commando game except for 2K9 has a trick called elevator skip. And for the elevators that you force yourself to ride, you can just like move them up and then run underneath them, and you can skip them that way. But on that elevator that I was just on, when you're falling that first time, you can grab the corner of a ceiling and start a swing, and the elevator won't actually catch you while you're swinging. So you can start a swing and the elevator will pass through you, and then you can just cancel it and free fall down, and it saves, I don't know, like 3 seconds or something. But I somehow missed it. It looked like I grabbed early. Alright, so this ceiling clip, you want to grab like on this rivet, and if you do it properly when you do a diagonal swing to the right, you'll like clip into the ceiling a bit, you'll delay there, and then you can grab the top corner sometime after that. And that'll be the proper height to swing through and land on the ceiling. Or land on the ledge, rather. That one's not too bad, but still sometimes miss it. This, I think, is the worst screen in the game. This is almost entirely blind grapples. If you're playing this casually and you don't know what to expect, you don't know what tiles are coming up, or if you get a slightly suboptimal swing and don't have enough distance, you're just dead, and there's no way to recover it, because there's nothing underneath you, and no way to grapple backwards. So this screen sucks, but we made it through without problem. Now we have the classic escape. This is actually a pretty cool screen. The fire isn't instant death. I think it does 1 damage per hit, and you have like standard iframes. So it's not too bad. Let's see. Well, I suppose I'll start talking about the reward from this stage. So I mentioned earlier that most of the guns are pretty bad in this. That is not true for the reward from this stage. We get the flamethrower here. So again, the particle gun, your starting gun, does 1 damage. Wide gun does 1 damage per bullet. Laser and pulse gun, I think, do 1 or 2, but have slower rate of fire than particle gun. So all pretty bad. The flamethrower does 6 damage. And the reward that we got from the previous stage, from the stage with the Executioner boss, was the rapid fire device, and that multiplies our projectiles by 3. So every time you press the fire button, you'll get 3 bullets instead of 1. So now instead of doing 1 damage per shot, we are doing 18 damage per shot. And you can see I kill these fire dudes in 1 hit. It's a really smart damage boost there to skip having to walk all the way to the right to the lower platforms. And there's going to be another damage boost coming up on this ledge to get some extra vertical height off of this guy. damage boosts in this game are very good. And it's neat that you're actually using damage boosts for mobility in this game, as opposed to just like damage boosting to get invincibility frames, or damage boosting because eliminating an obstacle is too time consuming. And I really like that. This stage is just kind of a breath of fresh air. There's not really a whole lot going on. It's pretty short, all things considered. I think it's supposed to be like somewhat maze-like. Oh, so that guy, that was a good example. That guy was dead. You could see that the bullets were passing through him, but he was still on fire and charging at me. And he can still do damage in that phase. But at the beginning of this stage, those fire enemies were killed and disappeared. So here's our core boss again. Died in 5 or 6 shots. He has either equal or greater health than all the other core bosses, so that's just a pretty good representation of how strong that weapon is. And that gives us the body armor. Body armor, as you can probably guess, is just like the other pieces of equipment, except it prevents 3 hits instead of 2. So this stage, I'm still taking the rapid fire device just because the boost in power is too great to pass up. So I don't have the energy recovery pills, so health is going to be pretty critical here. So I've planned out every hit that I need to take. Most of them are going to be from terrain, from like these flames, just to skip having to wait. So there's a really tricky grapple here, and again, most of these are they're awful grapples to try and do. I thought I was gonna land cleanly on that ledge. The damage boost is actually faster, but it was not intended. I meant to land on it and then drop down. But yeah, if you don't know where the next platform is coming, it's really tough to react in time. Yeah, this last stage is brutal. So this screen, this has probably the cruelest platform in the game. This platform doesn't actually reach to this ledge, you have to swing on it, but the camera doesn't pan far enough left for you to anticipate it. You have to just kind of blindly guess and throw a swing out there and hope you land on it. And if you move consistently through the first half of that screen, it'll always be there at the right time. But if you miss it, if you're a little bit slow or you screw up, then it's pretty rough. These are intended damage boosts to abuse iframes to get through those. There's going to be another damage boost here on the outside, and that's going to set up this cycle to cleanly get through the rest of it. And with that, we're at the final boss. This guy, I don't really know what he is. I have no idea what the plot of this game is. Don't particularly care either. But he turns into some green thing, and in this phase, he's invincible. And it's timed, so I just kind of run him around. I have this loop that I like to do so I know when he untransforms, and then I stand by the wall and shoot him with flamethrower. And it's a pretty easy one-cycle kill here. And that's that. Game complete. So, yeah, I mean, this game, I do really like a lot of the speed tech. I like the ceiling clips that I found, I like some of the boss strats. The camera manipulations were fun to work out, but they're miserable to try and rely on. So I think there's some cool tech here. I think it would make a really cool task, and I think like a really dedicated runner could probably make a really good run of this. But I just can't bring myself to do it. It's just infuriating. I'm gonna try and release my notes. I'll probably either just dump them on test videos and link it in the description of these videos, or make a page on my website going through like the stage order and what I have equipped, because the menus are only visible for a few frames. And then for the clips that I missed, I'll upload like some GIFs and some videos, maybe movie files of what those are supposed to look like. And I plan to make, so my PB with the guy is about a minute faster. It's like a low 32, maybe a high 31. But that run was so bad that I deleted the VOD and deleted the local recording, so that will never be found again. And I don't plan to run this game again, but I do want to share some strats and some character differences. So I think I'll just make some video in the future that goes over what the guys Area 6 and Area 9 look like, what that speedrun route looks like, and how his like core mechanics are different from the girl. And that should hopefully be enough for any future runners or anybody who is interested in this game to work on. There is probably a 100% category, but in any percent you have to play every stage except for the 2 like bonus stages that just give you a costume upgrade. So this should cover most of it. The only thing that would be vastly different would be like the truck route, the map order. Those stages are pretty simple. I mean, they're entirely blind grapples, but once you know that, they're pretty simple. So I probably won't make any supplemental resources for that category. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and look out for those resources in the future, whenever I can get around to it. Alright, I'll see you next time.